Hello, folks. Lindsey Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions coming at you again. Been getting a lot of phone calls, texts, emails, Facebook messages about Antonio Brown and what's going on, saying he needs a little SPS in his life. I don't disagree with that. It'd be great to work with Antonio Brown, and who knows what the future holds. But right now, I want to talk about something in the news. There's been an apology that's come out. Looks like he's going to come on board for week 1. And I think there's a 2-minute piece that may get lost in translation. I want to stop there for a second. I think myself and my broadcast partner, Jack Eblin, we're going to spend some more time on this in the future. But I want to dissect the call between Coach Gruden and Antonio A.B. Brown that can be helpful for a number of people and maybe give coaches, players, other sports stakeholders, whether it's in professional sports, collegiate sports, or amateur sports, a little bit more perspective, and hopefully can be helpful in dealing with players like Antonio Brown. So here we go.
AB.
Yep.
Antonio, coach is on the line.
AB.
Coach.
Hello. Yo, what's up, Coach?
What the hell's going on, man?
Just a feeling all over the news, man.
Let's stop right there. I love Coach Gruden for this. He comes on, and instead of him being accusatory and saying, why did you do this? What's your problem? Do you know who we are? Et cetera, he said, what's going on? He opens it up to give Antonio Brown an opportunity to express who he is. So he definitely just defers to him. And Antonio's response is interesting. He says, I'm a villain all over the news. Disregard the press conference, disregard all those things. That was the apology right there. People love to say, he needs to get down and apologize and all that. Man, these high-profile, ego-driven individuals, they're not going to apologize like that. They're not going to put themselves out there. But they will apologize in a very genuine way. Probably not like you and I would expect them to, but in a way that's very subtle. And if you're bright enough to pick up on it, you can. What is a villain described as? The villain is defined as a character whose evil actions or motives are important to the plot. Now, in this case, you may say, your response to that may be, he's basically saying, how should I put, I'm sorry for being considered this person. I'm not that person. He removed himself from the title. He did not embrace the title of being a villain. He said, I'm being looked at as a villain. Let's listen to Coach Gruden's response to that. And I think something we all can learn from that when you want to move a great person forward in your organization where there may be conflict.
Antonio, all right. He didn't behave like this before he started.
This is commentators just talking.
Antonio Brown has been an absolute embarrassment. Yeah, I feel like it's just the most misunderstood fucking human being in my entire life.
Wow, Coach Gruden, kudos, man. Instead of him pounding the table, instead of him putting his face in it, he says, no, you're not a villain. So in other words, he said, I accept your apology. I accept your apology. And better yet, I'm going to give you cover. I'm going to call you misunderstood. I'm going to call you the most misunderstood effing person in the history of sports. Wow. How did that make Antonio Brown feel? Misunderstood is defined as incorrectly interpreted or understood. In other words, he's saying they're calling you a villain, but I'm just saying as a coach and leader of this organization, you're just misunderstood. And people are not correct in calling you that. Listen to some more.
I brought you here because you're my favorite guy. I've never seen a guy work hard. But I don't know where you are in your life right now. All I know is you got a lot of things going on. There's a lot of people that have an opinion about you. And whether it be good or bad, you're in the spotlight all the time.
Wow. He goes on to give him affirmation. I brought you here, meaning I'm your guy. I brought you here because you're a great player. Let me talk about something you do. You're the hardest worker. In other words, I acknowledge your hard work. So that's always going to be an indicator of how you can show your effort with your hard work. So I think that was interesting. He can say that. And a lot of people in leadership position, whether it's GMs, coaches, whoever it may be, are not willing to give that up. And it may be a cultural dynamic, a generational cultural dynamic. And I talk about this in my presentations, in my book, when you talk about the generations. And some saying, you shouldn't, come down to their level. But you're trying to bring this guy along. You're trying to get this $30 million talent to really be all in.
Let me ask you this. Do you want to be a Raider or not?
Now, he asked, do you want to be a Raider or not? I think in John Gruden's mind, he knew that AB was on board, but as a leader, as an executive, he had to get clarity of statement. He had to hear him respond to the question. I had to ask him straight up, even though I feel he may be on board, but let me ask the question, do you want to be here?
I've been trying to be a Raider since day one. I've been fucking working my ass off hard anyway.
He's saying, I've been trying to be on board since day one, but I've been working my ass off harder than anyone. In other words, he's saying, I'm showing you how committed I am based on how hard I work despite the other things. Stay with me.
I don't know why it's a question of me being a Raider. Like, you guys want me to be a Raider.
Now he gets to throw it back. Because Antonio Brown is trying to say, are you willing to accept me and all my idiosyncrasies, all my quirks, my prima donna type actions? And I think that was important for AB to be able to get that back, to be sure. You know?
Please stop this shit and just play football. How hard is it?
Now listen, hey, Coach Gruden says, just stop this shit and play football. How hard is it? In other words, he's trying to put his blinders on and say, just play football. Like so many of us say, like so many say, oh, just get out there and play football. But listen to this.
You're a great football player. Just play football.
Yeah, but I'm more than a football player, man. I'm a real person. It ain't about the football. I know how to do that. I'll show you guys down the daily.
He says, I'm more than a football player. I'm a real person. I think that's the part we miss. I think that's the part that people aren't really willing to be emotionally available and vulnerable for, to connect with athletes who may be going through things. He's saying, I can do football. That's no problem. But I'm a person. Are you willing to accept me as a person with all the things that come with it? But I am going to go out there and work hard every day.
This is my life. Ain't no more games.
Just my life, ain't no more games. Like, I'm here to work. Accept me as a person. So I think Antonio Brown is going to be on board. And I'm going to say this right now. This is not the last of the issues you may have. But these issues are going to be manageable. There's going to be a relationship with Coach Gruden and Antonio Brown that's going to be back and forth. And Antonio Brown is going to probably get someone as a coach who's willing to put up with his things to help him get there. Because you notice Coach Gruden also said, I don't know what's going on in your personal life. He gave him cover. So all I'm saying is, this whole idea of taking a great, soon-to-be Hall of Fame talent like Antonio Brown, who wears his emotions on his sleeves and whatnot, and just trying to get him to go just play football is not going to work. You have to be able to get down with that person, be able to connect with that person, and get to a point where you'll say, I want to accept you as you, and give you a different kind of leniency I wouldn't give other players. Jerry Jones said it best, that everybody's not equal. Based on your talent, based on how you're going to get treated a certain way. That's why Ezekiel Elliott held out as long as he did to get, a 6-year deal, and what Jerry Jones said was an overpaid, overpriced type deal, but he got it. So, getting away from NFL, when you bring that idea down to collegiate sports, normally these collegiate players don't have that leverage. But I think it's something for coaches to keep in mind. Amateur athletes, in high school as well, don't have that leverage. But I think coaches like John Gruden, as unique as he may be and as colorful as he may be, he got it right here, and that's going to bring Antonio Brown in. And again, I'm here to say, I'm not saying they're going to be free from issues going forward, but there's going to be a stronger connection between Coach John Gruden and Antonio Brown that can help them go forward. So with that, I'm not going to keep going too much. Soon we'll be talking about some college football. I'll be talking about some Michigan State playing Western Michigan, my alma mater, coming up soon. I'll be talking a recap of that game with my broadcast partner, the great Jack Ebling. And we will talk about this a little bit more too. And I love to get Jack's opinion, and we'll break it down. But I think Antonio Brown is going to be on board. We're going to keep an eye on that Oakland Raider train. And with that, I hope you can relate to this, not just in sports, but in your life. If you're a leader at your job or in your organization, that you have to be able to connect with people in different ways and be able to give them grace to bring them together closer to help them move forward. So with that, Lindsey Huddleston with SPS signing off. Talk to you soon.